If you want to get in the groove, mask up to get down, and make sure you stay 6 feet from stardom. Today, on A Place of Our Own, it's imperialism with style as we alter the course of world history. At least in the classroom, with a fun board game. Stay put, because the fun starts right now. What's up? I'm Pete Charles Sesko, and welcome to Thrift Store Rundown's Place of Our Own. A place designed for any millennial or baby boomer who wants to bring Hollywood home on a budget. As you know, every interaction you have with your favorite celeb or fellow fandom friend is a very important learning opportunity. So when it comes to educating yourself about the wonderful world of pop culture, we're all in this together. That's right, TSI is your first and coolest teacher.
In all-new Monopoly Empire, you can buy and own the world's top brands, like Xbox,
I wanna own it all. I wanna
Transformers,
own it all. I wanna own
and Beats by Dr. Dre.
own it all. I wanna own it all.
All-new Monopoly Empire. When you own the world's top brands, you own it all.
Welcome to TSR's Place of Our Own. I'm Mr. PCS, and today, and all weekend long, I'm in an Empire state of mind. I'll tell you why. Because this Monday, the New York City School District plans to do a soft reopening of all of its schools for in-person instruction, meaning that New York City school children and faculty will quite literally be heading back in school. In the hopes that more school districts across America will follow suit, depending on their safety and security protocols in the wake of COVID-19, you know, wearing a mask, social distancing, and all that stuff, I decided to invite you guys back into TSR's Place of Our Own this holiday season for a 2-day lesson on how to bring Hollywood to the classroom on a budget. If you'll recall, back in September was a month-long extravaganza of entertainment, education, and information. That's TSR's own E²I symbol that I follow every single time I post a video. Despite the 2 long and tedious weeks of filming, editing, and posting a month's worth of material here in that sort of a time span, I decided not to concentrate on how arduous the process was, and instead focus on how much fun it was to create as it was for you guys to watch. As a result of that series airing over the month, the channel's subscriber rate risen greatly in 2020. We're now inching closer to 400 subscribers, which really is the one good thing I could take out of 2020, and for that, I'm grateful to all of you. I'm also in an Empire state of mind because of our first lesson, if you will, which falls under the dual category of Finance and Business 101, since I consider Monopoly by Hasbro to be the basic stockbroker's game. Not only is Monopoly making its 4th appearance on the channel, but this is the variation of which I had my heart set on ever since I gazed upon it so many years ago at the thrift store but decided not to buy, because, well, I wasn't into Monopoly at the time. What a woefully tragic and stupid decision that was in hindsight to let it go. And yet, unfortunately, one look internally, and you might disagree with me. You might actually think, like myself, that it actually was a good decision to let it go. We'll talk more about that once we look inside. But anyway, just like the first Monopoly Empire, which actually was the second produced, this was the first produced, and yet it's the second to air. I know, kind of a weird paradoxical situation, but hey, just like the previous installment, this version gives you the opportunity to own 22 of the world's top brands, and they are Xbox, Coca-Cola, X Games, eBay, of which I'm no stranger of, My Little Pony, Chevrolet, Under Armour, Fender guitars, of which my friend David will go nuts for, he's a rockaholic, Nerf, and Transformers. Now Transformers and My Little Pony, by the way, are Hasbro brands. You can keep your My Little Pony. I'm not really much into Nerf, so I'll basically go for Transformers on account of the Michael Bay films, which are actually pretty decent, and of course Megan Fox, whose last name is certainly more than fitting. Yahoo! Beats by Dr. Dre, Ducati, which is an Italian brand of beautifully designed and high-performance racing motorcycles. Carnival Cruises, Angry Birds, Intel, Spotify, Nestle, EA, Samsung, and McDonald's, of which I consider myself to be an expert of. So does my friend David. However, if you watch that small portion of a thrift store vlog I did many years ago featuring this game for sale, you'll understand one particular brand which I had my heart set on above all else at the very top of my list. If you understand what I do for a living, you'll know why. And that would be this brand here. All the stars align with this one, literally. Paramount Pictures, the oldest and only operating movie studio and television studio in Hollywood. Over a century of excellence in movie media. And thanks to this game, I now have the opportunity to become its pretend head honcho. How ridiculous is that? If that's not bringing Hollywood home on a budget, then you tell me what the heck is. We have 2 videos on gameplay. First, the basic Cliff Notes version from Hasbro themselves, and a detailed version from TTPM Toy Reviews. TimeToPlayMag.com.
It's Monopoly Empire from Hasbro. Now, kids can play like they own the world's top brands with a fun, fast way to play the Monopoly game. Be the first player to fill your tower with billboards to win. Move around the board with uniquely branded tokens. When you land on a brand space, buy it and slide its billboard into the tower. The amount of rent you charge and the amount of money you collect as you pass go is based on the value of your tower. The more brands you buy, the more cash you collect. First to the top wins. Monopoly Empire is for 2 to 4 players ages 8 and up and comes with game board, 4 towers, 6 tokens, 30 billboard tiles, 6 office tiles, 14 chance cards, 14 Empire cards, money pack, and 2 dice. Monopoly Empire from Hasbro.
There are no cards. Instead, what you want to do is build the biggest empire using different billboards. Now to set up, you pick a piece, and that's always a tough part of the game. Who are you going to be? You know, whether you want to be the video game controller or a race car. You go around the board, and the object is to buy brands. And to win the game, you buy enough brands to build your billboard to the very top. Now what happens when you buy a brand, obviously you have to spend cash. You build your tower. Now when somebody lands on your space, they have to pay you the number, and there are numbers right here, of how high your tower is built up. So the tower goes all the way up to 800. I'm built up to 350. If you land on 3 of my brands, which I have Under Armour, Carnival, or eBay, you'd have to pay me 350. Now if you can't afford to pay, and this is something that I like about this game, there's no bankruptcy, no more going broke. The things that you do, you'll lose a brand, there are other things you might lose. Now there's also chance cards and empire cards, and also on the die there's a symbol that you can steal somebody's brand. So it plays similar to Monopoly, but it's a little different. There's some great brands like Xbox, Samsung, Coca-Cola, JetBlue, Yahoo, Carnival Cruises, Under Armour, McDonald's, and more.
So now you have both the clip notes and the more detailed gameplay videos. You're gonna need them because, taking a look inside, so much is missing. And in terrible condition. Let me explain. First of all, no game guide. Now, you already know what pieces come with this game and how many pieces there are because of the Hasbro video. But several of them are missing. Which first includes the tokens. There are supposed to be 6 tokens in here. And I'll show you the tokens once we take a look at the back upon the conclusion of this review. I only have 1 token accounted for, and that is this Chevrolet token right here. It's either a Camaro or a Corvette. You tell me what it is. Sorry that it's not really detailed because of all this darn camera. Let me focus here. You tell me, Camaro or Corvette? There you go. Camaro or Corvette. By the way, no Paramount clapperboard token in here. My favorite token, missing. And again, no game guide. And no money above all else. Where's my money? You know, I really don't condone fighting in the classroom, but at this point, I really feel like pulling a Stewie Griffin on whoever's hoarding my play money. Because that is just ridiculous. No money, no play. Now let's have a look at the board itself. Because this is pretty sad too. You see this? This board is torn in half. I am not kidding. You are seeing it right before your eyes. It is torn in half. I'm putting the two halves together so you see what we have here. Going all the way around. It is a swanky looking game board despite its major fault here. Going all the way around the outside and looking inside in. Right here is where you will put your chance cards. By the way, we do have the chance cards here. A few of them. And here's where you would put your Empire cards. And that's just a sample of them. Tallest Tower bonus. As for the chance card, Prophet's Sword. That's to go to collect your tower value. We have the towers, by the way. And mostly all the cards are accounted for. Your M stack of cards, the Empire, goes on that side, and your question mark cards, the chance cards, they go on the question mark side right here. Left and right. So, everybody clear on that? Good. And of course, going all the way around, that is the brand right there. That is priority number 1 for me to buy and put on my stack of brands on my tower. Paramount Pictures, a Viacom CBS company. So, Hasbro, next time you make a version of this, make sure to include that little edit in the Paramount byline. Correct ownership is key. Speaking of ownership, as I joked in the previous Monopoly Empire review, taking exclusive ownership of any of these brands in a pretend fashion would definitely be a lot of fun, especially during this time where the economy is just, well, it's just all over the place. Some days the stock market goes up, some days it goes down, and really, I wish that Louis Rukeyser was still around to try and make sense out of all the nonsense. Oh, before I forget, let's show you all the brands here that you can stack on your tower. We have the dice, by the way. Let's take a handful here. You also have your miscellaneous towers, like your Waterworks towers, your utilities towers, but the brand, I mean tokens, sorry, Waterworks are utility tokens, but your brand tokens are all the key here. Yahoo, Nestle, S-Bots, and my favorite, Paramount. If only I had the Paramount clapperboard here, I would call dibs on that every single time I play this game. So that's Monopoly Empire for you. Now, you might come to the conclusion that it really wasn't such a stupid decision after all to let this version go. Because, well, all things considered, this will go on record as being one of the all-time worst board game purchases and one of the all-time worst purchases I've ever made in general in 2020. And despite the egregious lack of components, I'm actually not that upset. Why? Because, as you already know, I own the other version. The second version, which aired first. And really, there's nothing in the game guide that says that you can't use the money from this version and the tokens from here to use in that version. There's nothing in the rulebook that goes against that. So, recycling and reusing the money from here to use here. Neat. By the way, that version of Monopoly Empire was purchased for $3.49 and for half the discount of this. That was 25% off. This is 50% off with new tokens. And those new tokens are... oh, great. add insult to injury, I just dropped a lot of pieces. The McDonald's Happy Meal box as opposed to a regular, medium, or large fry token. An Xbox controller, a Chevy Camaro or Corvette, Angry Bird, Beats by Dr. Dre, and a Coca-Cola bottle. Anyway, you see the back here, it's really self-explanatory. You already know how many pieces are in here, and considering the box is in terrible condition, the board is in bad condition, and if you don't handle it well like I just did not, well, you'll have quite a mess on your hands. This is just a woefully tragic decision to have bought this in the first place. And that bums me a great deal because I like Monopoly. I'm starting to really become fond of Monopoly, and yet I buy this version, which had a strong potential to be my favorite version of Monopoly on account of Paramount Pictures, and yet, well, so much is missing. For that, I'm gonna have to be fair here and stern and give this the lowest rating a Monopoly game can get here. 2 out of 5 claps. And I'm being very generous with the 2. Any more indiscretions or faults on the part of this Monopoly Empire game and it would have gotten a 1. I can't in good conscience give it a 0 because most of the pieces are accounted for. But at the end of the day, please do your due diligence and check inside the box to make sure that all game pieces are accounted for. If not, put it right back on the shelf and leave it alone. Have we really come to the point in America during this quarantine culture that we're now starting to hoard game pieces from board games purchased retail or secondhand? I hope not. But if the next time I purchase another board game and I pre-authorize it, if that was the case, oh man. Whoever is the possessor of the missing game pieces deserves a million face palms, and I'll be looking for you. You know what I call this? That's right, class. A fallen empire. Class is dismissed for the day, but if you missed any classes, get caught up by clicking the link in the description below, which will take you to the Too Cool for School playlist, which also includes videos from last year's series. Thanks for joining us, and make sure to subscribe for when it comes to bringing Hollywood home and to the classroom on a budget. TSR is your first and coolest teacher. We'll see you next time on the flip side on A Place of Our Own.